with some clips, and we're going to push them all at the same time and give it a pull. The radio comes out. Put that to the side. I'm going to use an ice pick. There's a big opening here. And feel around for the retainer. Yeah, I could look in there. I like to feel. There's the ignition coming out. You got a code number on it of 6499. So we're going to take that back to the truck, make a key. I'm back. There's the key. Reinstall the ignition. Put it back in the park so you can make sure it operates correctly, which it does. Let's go ahead and put it back together. So we got the radio. It's upside down, right side up. That snaps together. Next thing is we want to put the dash in. We got the gear shift down here. We want to get that out of the way. Get on this. Plug in the electrical. On the back of here. Straighten everything out. Snap everything in. Put our face cap back on. Back in the park so we can take our key out. Okay. This one here has a transponder. You can tell. You can see the light that says security up here on the dash. That's what we're going to use as far as programming. That'll do it. Can't unhook the back when it's in there. I came around the outside. I got like that. It was pretty tight up here. What's going on is the illumination ring down here is getting in the way. So then what I did is I put a pair of vice grips on the key. So I couldn't figure out where it's coming off. Watch down here, you'll see what happens. And then she come out. Doesn't go in that easy. And as far as putting it back in, take the move that back up out of the way. Take this off. Put this halfway on. Well, there's the code number, guys. 5540. Come on. Only put you in halfway. You just want to be difficult. At the bottom are two prongs that will slide in. The top is a catch. Make sure your security's in all the way, and then there's the trim ring. Ode to Aurora. It's an Ortec ignition. There is no sidebar, and you know about the light that's down here. That'll do it. This is a Cavalier. We want to remove the ignition. Look at the key code. Remove the shroud. We got a 7mm socket. We're going to take out 3 screws. Separate the plastic. This doesn't have a tilt. If it had a tilt, there'd be a lever you got to remove. Next, you've got a wire here with a plug. I'm going to separate that. This one here happens to have a plastic assembly. Most of them are metal. Next, we're going to take a pair of right angle pliers. And we're going to pull it out a little bit. And after we get done pulling it out, we're going to put a small screwdriver underneath it. Get on either side of the retainer. Grab it. Move it out. Get behind it. And she's coming out. I want to grab a hold of it because I don't want it to go flying somewhere, because then you won't find it. There's the retainer. Out comes the ignition. The key code for this lock is S473 Charlie. We'll make a key. Put the retainer back here, put it back in, we'll be done. Okay. That's got the illumination ring on it. That's how you can tell it's an Ortec. We're going to take our keys and we're going to try the 8 keys that we have in the glove compartment, figure out which one will do the job. As you can see, we're lucky we got some sunshine out today. Here in Chicago, we don't get too much of that. We got a key to turn. And now we're going to look at the last 4 cuts on the key. Let's just take a look at the key we got for the glove compartment. On one side, we've got 6622, and the other side of the key, we've got 6626. The glove compartment has the last 4 wafers. We are concerned with positions 7, 8, and 9. So in position 7, 8, and 9, we have 662. So then we're going to go to our keys or our groups and find out which ones end in 662. The sides of this key end in 662 in positions 7, 8, and 9. Number 7. Now, we don't know whether we're going to be using 7A or 7B. The ignition we're working on, the Ortec, does not have a sidebar. We're going to use the keys to try to turn the ignition. Now this ignition does have serrations on the wafers. We're going to be using small vice grips to help us on the top of the keys. And we're going to try to differentiate between 7A and 7B. Okay, that's your Ortec ignition. What side are you putting in now?
7A.
Okay, 7A. Now you're going to compare that. Turn the key over to 7B now. And you should notice one side turns better.
7B.
Let me get a close-up of that, Matt. Hold on. Matt, is that turning?
I think so.
Well, this tool demonstrated how it's used. Now we have to look at the lock. Problems happen out there on these locks, whether it's in the steering column or the dash. We'll run into a vehicle where the customer's key no longer works. First, I have to determine whether the customer has the correct key. One of the wafers that's in the front of the ignition will hang up. This tool goes to the back of the lock. At the back of the lock is where we get all our reading. The reason why we go to the back of the lock, so that no matter what malfunction this lock actually has, it's not going to affect us. The tool has sufficient force to push on the sidebar to allow the ignition to turn, but it's not strong enough to crush any wafer. By inserting the tool and the customer's key, lifting up and taking a measurement, that would tell me that the back of the lock with the combination that's on this key is a valid combination. Let's say the ignition doesn't turn. This immediately lets you know that there's a problem in the lock. If you were called out to a lock, make a key, and the key wasn't present because it never did turn the ignition because of a problem, how would you know? If I went to pick this lock and there was a problem with it, the methods that are out there now, putting pressure on the sidebar, breaking the tumbler, moving them around, we get the back of the lock to line up, front of the lock would still have its problem. So you could sit there a considerable amount of time before you would come to the conclusion this lock has a malfunction. Back of the lock improperly. What we're missing is the front of the lock. First 8 keys are only for the back of the lock. The tool will tell you what's going on in the back. See it from 7B to 7B keyring. Manipulate the front of the lock. Back of the lock has already been determined. Combinations on these keys will move the wafers around in the front configuration. By grabbing a key, you can determine whether the top or the bottom of the key set is giving your best indication by measuring. That's a measurement from one side. There's a measurement from the other side. That side's much better. Also, if you watch the key, you can see the key moving up and down. That's from the pressure that the sidebar is putting on the wafers. You can see that the tool has enough force to move things around in there. And that's how the system works. Tool amplifies what's going on. So the ignition turns. One of these keys will turn an ignition if it's in proper working order. You got the back of the lock to tell us that 7B would take care of it. We got to the keys. We figured out one side was better than the other, so it was the bottom side here that was good. Install the key, take a measurement. We see the key move. This is a very good indication that things are good. Try turning the key. I don't use a lot of pressure with my fingers. When the ignition is going to turn, it'll turn by itself. There's no great effort that is required to take care of these ignitions. We go through the keys, put a little pressure on the sidebar, turn the ignition on, take the tool out. If the ignition locks back up on you and won't turn, not a problem. Reinstall the tool, lift up, put a little pressure on it, turn it on, try it again. If it locks up again on you, not a problem. Install the tool, lift up, put a little pressure on it. If you watch the tip of my finger, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this at all. It'll go on. Key will not turn. tool in, put pressure on it, turn the ignition on. First I look to make sure that there's no receiver back here from a transponder system. Make sure it's empty back there. If it's not empty back here, do not do this. There are pickup coils on anything that's got a transponder system using a PK3, PK3 Plus, PK3 Circle Plus. You want to gain access right here so that we can get in to a release that's located approximately here to remove the ignition. What we're going to do is make a hole in the plastic here with a screwdriver. You're just going to hold it lengthwise, gives you a little wrap, put your hand, and you get a little cutout like that. Next, you want to make sure that when you turn the key forward, you don't grind the starter. So I usually put my foot on the brake, drop the gear shift to low 1, just make sure that the ignition won't grind. Next, we're going to use a tool. This tool is specially shaped so that it will accept into the hole. The angle on the tip is also special. When going down this hole, if you've had problems in the past getting the release, that's because the tip of your tool is not shaped correctly. Even though that hole is there, that hole is misleading. Only half of that hole is any use. We're going to take this tool, we're going to insert it through the hole, we're going to push down on the retainer as we rotate the key forward. So you're going to take the tool, go into the lock, and you're going to feel around, and I'm feeling for the hole. Okay, if it's not in the front, then it's probably on top of the ledge. So you go over the ledge, feel around. Okay, there's the tool. You see the ignition moving a little bit. We're then going to use a screwdriver in the head of the key to allow us to turn it a little easier. You're going to rotate the ignition. You're then going to press down on the release. The ignition will pop out a little bit. Keep your turning pressure on so your tool comes out. Remove your tool. Let the ignition turn back. Bring it out a little bit so it straightens out. And then you're going to slide the cylinder out. And you'll see a key code on the ignition. This tool goes into the lock here. Goes down the side here. So when you're pushing down on it, the tool will hit the sidebar there. If it goes this direction, then it'll kick out over the sidebar there. You don't want that. You want to make sure that you're down and into the sidebar there. The length of this indicator is important so that the tip lands where it does. The tool goes down, side over here. You get an indication. This is where the tool does its work. The next thing is we have to make a decision. We have drilled a hole in the face of the ignition here that came out the back, and that's the same track that this pin rides in. Could this pin fall into our hole and bind the ignition? It's possible. We have a decision to make. Number one, we can take some JB Weld or some kind of a sealant and cover up the hole and file it smooth. Number two, we can replace the entire ignition, key up another cylinder and install it. Or number 3, which is my favorite, just remove the pin. We're going to go with option 3, removing the pin. This pin is staked in. Take a pair of vice grips,